First it was me, now it's her. Oh my goodness. No one in our group can stay on their feet today.
You got your Starbucks this morning. Anybody get your Starbucks this morning? Okay, yeah. How many of you got your Dutch Brothers? Yeah! Okay. Any Black Rock fans in here? Black Rock fans? Okay. How many of you, by the way, this is the real matter. Okay, how many of you got your Mountain Dew this morning already? Anybody like that? I'm already on number 2, by the way. I'm having a great morning. And I know, I'm probably dying 10 years, but, and tasting it right now. Anyway, we're sure glad you're here this morning. We're going to start out with a word of prayer this morning, and then we're going to have a special come up, and we're going to get right into the preaching after the special this morning. And so if you would, let's bow our heads. Sit, meet. I'm going to go sit down.
Sunday school, I memorized the golden rule and how Jesus came to set the sinner free. I know the story inside out, and I can tell you all about the cross where he died on Calvary. But ask me why he loves me, and I don't know what to say, but I'll never be the same because he changed my life when he became everything to me. It's more than a story.
many young people in here. I get to preach to you all the time, and it must be nice. I'm just kidding. And boy, it's good to be here today. And I was thinking this morning, honestly, this is kind of weird. Okay, you ready for something weird? I'm not that much older than some of you. Now, some of you, how many think I'm 30? Anybody in here you think I'm 30? Okay, not that old, believe it or not. Okay, 26 years old. Woohoo! I know, I look good for 26. It's okay. Okay. By the way, someone asked me, said, Brother T, how'd you get your wife, man? I said, well, come on. And they didn't believe that. You know, I was thinking, 9 years ago I would have graduated high school. Not that long ago. You say, Brother TJ, man, it seems like God's blessing your life. The answer is yes, He is. Yes, He is. I have a great wife. I've got a great job. I've got a beautiful house. I have 2 cars. They're not the best, but they run every day. That's great. And listen, I'm well taken care of. I have no complaints. I have no needs. I have wants. I want a boat, okay? I have no needs. God's taking care of me. So, Brother T, how does that happen? Because when I was your age, I just said, God, take my life and use it. That's it. There's no special remedy. It was just simply, when I was your age, I said, God, here's a little short guy from Michigan, Lord, but as a young person, God, if you want my life, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. And man, I love every second of my life. By the way, can I say this morning? Every single one of you have excuses. We all have them on why you can't give your life to Christ. Oh, I had excuses. My dad, he didn't go to church. See, my dad grew up a Catholic, and he never went to church on Sundays. And in fact, I know this as a young man, if I would have went to Dad and said, Dad, I don't want to go to church today with Mom, my dad would have said, sure, you don't have to. But I kept going to church. Hey, there were some times on Wednesday nights I used to want to go teen sewing. I didn't have a ride to teen sewing. You know what I had to do? I had to pull out my phone and call people. Say, hey, can you pick me up for teen sewing today? What's your excuse? And hey, we could all stand up and each of us give our excuses on, hey, here's why I can't serve God. But you don't know the home I live in, you don't know the school I attend, or you don't know this about me, or this about me, or this about me. Hey, listen, learn from a young man who's just a little bit further down the road than you. If you will give Christ your life, He will do amazing things with it. But you've got to get rid of the excuses in your life. Now this morning, we're going to look in the book of Esther. Now all of us, I think, in this room this morning are familiar with the story of Esther. Now if you got your Bibles, when you go to Esther chapter 4, and we're going to look at verse number 13 in just a second. Now before we do, I want to catch you up in the beginning of Esther on what's going on. Okay, in the beginning of Esther chapter 1, you meet a king. His name, he's got a weird name. Okay, how many out there you got a weird name? Raise your hand. Okay, a few of you raise your hand. I'm so sorry your mom named you that. Okay, and if you got a weird name, this guy had a weird name. His name was King Ahasuerus. That's a weird name. Okay, now how many can say that with me in just a second? Let's, on the count of 3, let's all say the name Ahasuerus. Okay, it's going to sound terrible, I know. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Ahasuerus.
Yeah, some of you, that was terrible pronunciation. Okay, by the way, I might even be pronouncing that wrong. I don't even know. But we meet a king. His name is Ahasuerus, and he's got a queen. Her name was Vashti, or Vashti. I say Vashti. I've heard other people say Vashti. I don't care which one you say. You can just call her V for short. I don't know. Okay? He's got this queen named Vashti, and King Ahasuerus one night, he gets drunk. He starts drinking, and just as what happens, he starts drinking one too many, and he becomes drunk. By the way, young person, stay away from alcohol. Stay away from alcohol. Now, for those of you that grown up in a Christian home and haven't seen it, that is a good thing. And let me tell you, don't start testing it out. I grew up in a home where I would go to my grandpa's house and there would be beer bottles over the table. There would be beer cans out there. And I remember watching my relatives get drunk and get wasted. And I would go to church on Sunday and my youth pastor would stand up and say, hey, don't get involved in alcohol. And I would go to those parties and I'd see them get drunk and do stupid things and get angry and yell at each other and get divorced from their wives and from their husbands. Why? Because they're controlled by alcohol. And I saw that and I went, my youth pastor's right. I need to stay away from that. And though I was offered it time and time again, I never one time, as Brother Gabe said last night, I've never one time in my life drinking alcohol. Don't get involved in that stuff. It'll wreck your life. And some of you, you've seen how it affects your relatives. By the way, I talked to a teenager one time, and they said, man, Brother TJ, my parents get drunk all the time. And I said, is that the way you want to grow up? Is that the kind of mom or dad you want to be? And they said, well, no. And I said, why as a teenager are you starting to drink already? Because I said, let's fast forward 10 years. You're going to be just like your mom and dad if you don't get that under control. Stay away from alcohol. King Asimir is here. He gets drunk and he does something so stupid. He says, hey, I want Queen Vashti to come in and I want her to provocatively dance before myself, but not just him, all his soldiers.
Who is it?
Your Highness, the king was wondering if you could make him a sandwich.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but he says that he's the king and whatever he says goes.
Well, I'm the queen, and the king can make his own sandwich.
Okay.
I want her to come in. I want her to dance provocatively in front of all of us. He's drunk. He ain't thinking clear, obviously. By the way, don't you love what Queen Vashti does? She says, no. Let me tell you something, young ladies. That fella starts texting you and asks you to send something you know you shouldn't send. Send a dirty picture. Be like Queen Vashti and say no. Say no. And then drop his sorry carcass and go start dating a real man. Because a real man... Because a real man will never ask you to do that. That's right. Queen Vashti stands up and she says, no way. I ain't doing that. You're drunk and all your men are drunk. There's no way I'm going to do that. Well, you know what happens. Of course, the king doesn't know what to do. The queen won't listen to him. That's bad. If you're the king of the empire, your own wife won't listen to you. And so they all decide, well, we gotta get rid of Queen Vashti, and we've got to find a new queen. And you know the story well. How does a king do it? Well, one of the guys has a great idea. Hey, let's have a beauty pageant, and we'll bring in contestants from all around the Persian Empire. And king, you can pick whichever one you like. By the way, there's some young men in here. You're like, that would be a great way for me to get married. Okay? Girls, if we did that with all these fellas, you'd be single because you'd find out these dudes are ugly up in here. By the way, guys, you're so funny. Some of the guys are like, hey. Some of them are like, yeah, that's true. So they have this beauty pageant, and they come in, and one of the contestants, one of the ladies, is a girl by the name of Esther. And Esther is a Jewish-born lady. Now, of course, this is the Persian Empire, and Persia at this time had taken over, and the Jews were under rule by Persia. And so Esther is in this beauty pageant, and wouldn't you know, she wins. She comes in that day, and King Ahasuerus says, well, I got to know more about you. He gets to know Esther, and he decides, man, this is her. She's the new queen. No doubt about it. It's not even close. Second place is so far back. She's pretty. She's smart. She is the new queen. Now, by the way, he does not know what nationality Esther is. We fast forward in the story, and we have two more guys that come on the scene. You've got a guy named Mordecai. Now, Mordecai is a relative to Esther. He's also a Jewish man. And not only is he a relative of Esther, but he also works for the king. And we find out that Mordecai had uncovered an assassination plot to kill King Ahasuerus and really had saved his life. And King Ahasuerus says, thank you, brother. I owe you one. And another guy comes on the scene, and doesn't every good story have to have a villain? Okay? The villain in the book of Esther is a guy named Haman. Say that word with me, but I want, when you say the word Haman on the count of 3, I want you to do it like with a weird face like this. Like Haman. Ew. Can we do that? Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Haman. He's the bad guy. Haman comes on the scene, and Haman and Mordecai, they don't like each other much. See, Haman doesn't like Mordecai because Mordecai will not bow to Haman. Because as a Jewish man, Mordecai knows the only person I'm supposed to bow down before is Almighty God himself. And so he is not going to bow down to this guy named Haman. And Haman's upset. So Haman is so evil. He's so evil that not only does he want to kill Mordecai, but he's like, I'm going to take it to another level. Not only do I want to kill him, I want to kill everyone of the same nationality as him. Mordecai's Jewish, I want to kill every single one of the Jews. Like, whoa, talk about an evil guy. Like, not even just kill him, you want to kill everybody. Haman, though, has no idea that Esther is a Jewish lady herself. That's where we pick it up here in Esther chapter 4. Now, Mordecai finds out about Haman's plot. And they start writing letters to each other, and they start in secret trying to get a plan, Mordecai and Esther, on what to do. And if you notice here, let's look at chapter 4, in verse number, let's go to verse number 11. Mordecai says, Esther, you've got to tell the king what Haman is planning. Esther, you've got to tell the king that Haman is trying to kill us. You've got to say something. Esther says this, Mordecai, you know the law. Mordecai, you know that no one is allowed to come into the king unless the king asks. She says, Mordecai, even me, the queen, second in command, even I cannot go into the king unless the king says, hey, I want to see Esther. She says, I can't do it. She says, if I go in there and he's not happy about it, I'm dead instantly. That's the law. If I go in there and he says no, I'm dead before I even take another step. Now, what's amazing about the story is what Mordecai responds with. Would you look at the next verse, verse 12? So Mordecai writes a letter back, a note back. Here's what he says. Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. In other words, he says this, Esther, just because you're the queen, if this law goes through, you're going to die too. Because you're a Jew. And even if you are the queen, even if you are in the king's court, it's not going to matter. Look at verse 14. This morning in verse 14, I want to look at 4 life-changing truths. And I believe they'll change your life, young person, if you'll grasp these as a teenager. Number 1, I wrote this down. When you hold your peace, destruction comes. Look at verse number 14 again. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then there shall enlargement and deliverance arise of Jews from another place, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. Young person, when you hold your peace, destruction comes. Mordecai says, Esther, if you don't stand up and say something, we are going to be destroyed. Young person, I look back at my teenager years and I think, how many of my friends could I have helped out and saved from making a bad decision if I would have just said something? If I would have just stood up and said something, how many of those friends that I had maybe would not have made a terrible decision? But sometimes young people, if we're not careful, we hold our peace. We don't say anything. We see somebody do something they shouldn't do, and we don't say anything. And can I say this? Every time in your life, when you hold your peace, when you see someone doing something wrong, and you don't say anything, every single time it leads to destruction. Whether it's your friend destroying themselves, whether it's you destroying yourself, whether it's whatever it might be, whenever you hold your peace, when you see someone doing something wrong, and you don't say something, it always leads to destruction for somebody. He says, Esther, you've got to say something. By the way, so often, you know why we don't say anything? We're afraid. We're afraid. Maybe you have a fear that, what are they going to think of you? Brother TJ, if I said something to them, what would they think of me? Maybe you're afraid that it'll make you look weird. Maybe you're afraid this morning that if you say something, it'll affect you and your social status and who you run with and who you hang out with. But can I say this? If you hold your peace, I promise you one thing, destruction will come to somebody if you don't stand up and say something. By the way, it's really not that difficult. I remember I was a senior playing soccer. Any soccer fans out there? Okay, anybody hate soccer? Put your hands down. Evil. Okay? I love soccer. I know. not everyone's favorite sport. But I remember a senior in high school, my team, I think we went, my senior year, our Christian school, we went 20-4. Not bad. The problem was, all 4 of our losses, we had played in 4 tournaments. And every one of our losses was the championship game. That's what you call, any Houston Rockets fans out there can't win the big games, okay? That was my senior year. 4 losses, 4 championship games, and get this, all of them were by 1 goal.
Oh.
I know, you can cry with me later. I still cry every night. I'm just kidding. I remember we were playing in one of those championship games. In fact, it was our home tournament. Our school put on a tournament, and teams would show up from all over the place for that tournament. And we were in a championship game, and we were playing what to my school would have been our rivals. Anybody got a rival out there? Okay, rival school. Your school has a rival. We had a rival school. And let me tell you, we did not like each other. It was both of our names had Christian in it. But when we got on that soccer field, for some reason, there was no Christian love there, I'll tell you that. We did not like each other. You knew going into that game, it's going to be a bloodbath. And yes, I bled in soccer, okay, from those guys. I made some of them believe it was great. And, boy, there was no love lost in that game. I remember we're out there, and that particular game, my senior year, I had gotten injured earlier in the day, and my knee, I shouldn't even have played. My knee swelled up about 3 times the size because I had it was this knee, I think, and I had a big giant bruise. It was like a bump. So, championship game, what do? I took that bruise and I started rubbing it. Now, my mom's a nurse. I didn't tell her till after what I did, but I took that bruise and I just broke it, started rubbing it and heating it up, and little did I know, if you do that, all that blood has to go somewhere, right? Okay? And it would just go to my knee. So I told the coach, I said, Coach, and I was one of the better players, I said, Coach, I'm not sure how good I am, but man, we're playing the championship game, our home tournament against our rival. I'm playing. So stick me somewhere. Even if I have to be in the back and not move, I'll do whatever I can. Boy, we're out there playing. I'll never forget it. It was in the first half. We were playing it, and the ball, me and a couple other guys were kind of bunched up somehow, and the ball was getting kicked around back and forth, and the ball got cleared out of there down the other end. And I thought I heard something. I wasn't sure, but I thought I heard someone say a terrible word, a racist word. I wasn't sure. Brother Gabe, I wasn't sure. But as that ball got kicked out, I thought I heard someone say something. I thought I couldn't have just heard. I could not have just heard what I thought I heard that person, someone say something. And by the way, the different ethnicities, I thought there's no way. There's no way. A couple minutes later, sure enough, ball comes back down to the same general area, and there's a few of us in there, and same thing happens. Ball gets kicked out. We clear the ball out of the way, and I heard it again. And this time, I knew what I heard. And I saw who said it. Can I say it was one of my teammates who said it? I was a senior boy. He was a sophomore boy. And I promise you, when I heard it, I knew it was wrong. I knew it was wrong. I knew it shouldn't be said. I knew it was racist. And can I say this? Hey, listen, this was my good moments. I couldn't hold my peace. I didn't even look at the ball. I turned over to him and I said, hey! By the way, some of you teenagers heard that here at our youth group. I said, hey! Don't you say that again! And I just kept playing. Because you know what? Sometimes you can't hold your peace, young person. I'm not going to let wrong just run rampant. And young person, don't let wrong run rampant in your youth group. Don't let wrong run rampant in your high school. Don't let wrong run rampant in your house. If you see something that shouldn't be happening, you got to stand up and say, hey, we're not going to do that. I don't care if it's you and your buddies and he says a bad word. You better say, hey, don't talk like that around me. Hey, if someone turns out some music in a car that you know you shouldn't be listening to, it ain't that hard. Say, either turn it off or I'm getting out and I'll call my mom to come get me. But don't just sit there and hold your peace as other people are doing wrong around you. Because every time that happens, when you hold your peace, destruction comes. Mordecai says, hey, Esther, if you don't say something, we're all going to be destroyed. Number one, when you hold your peace, destruction comes. Number two, I wrote this down. Another life-changing thing here that Mordecai mentions. God will use someone else if you don't step up. God will use someone else if you don't step up. Look at verse 14. By the way, don't you love Mordecai's faith? Mordecai says, Esther, if you don't say something, I know this. God will save us somehow, but he won't use you to do it. Ryan and Will, can you come up here? I won't use Wesley. Brother Gabe, what you don't know is Wesley always sits front row and gets used in every single illustration in our church. He loves it so much, right, Wesley? No, okay. Ryan, come right here. Come here, buddy. Here we go. Aren't these two sharp-looking men? Okay, that was bad. There was no response. By the way, ladies, they're single. Single? Okay, good. Your mom's going to kill me wherever she is. All right. God comes to good old Ryan here today, and God says, hey, Ryan, I want you to be a missionary to Kenya. And Ryan thinks, no way. That Holy Spirit starts knocking on his heart. I want you to be a missionary to Kenya. Ryan says, no. A week later, another guy gets up and preaches, and same Holy Spirit comes back and says, Ryan, I want you to go to Kenya. Ryan says, no. God says, hey, Ryan, man, I want you to go to Kenya. Ryan knows it, not a shadow of a doubt. By the way, young person, when God calls you to do something, you will not doubt it. I promise you. I promise you. You said, Brother T.D., what does God's voice sound like? I don't know, but when you hear it, you'll know. Because I knew it when God spoke to me. Oh boy, he starts knocking on Ryan's heart, and Ryan starts saying no, and he's no, and no, and no, and eventually that Holy Spirit, he just says, he ain't gonna do it. But someone's got to go to Kenya, right? Someone's got to go to Kenya. Here's what Mordecai's saying. Hey, Esther, if you don't save him, somebody will. God comes to William. William, will you go to Kenya? William says, yeah, I'll go. Did Ryan get his wish? Does Ryan have to go to Kenya now? No. Ryan, you don't have to go to Kenya now. You told God no. You think, man, he got it what he wanted. He doesn't have to do what God wants. Wrong. He got exactly what he wanted, but the problem is, if you notice something, Ryan's going the wrong way. He's getting farther away from God, isn't he? Isn't that what Jonah did? Oh man, Jonah got exactly what he wanted. He got a storm, he got a bunch of angry sailors, and he got chucked out of a boat and got swallowed by a fish. Exactly what he wanted. See, he thought he was just running from God. And young person, you can keep telling God no, and God will go find someone else. God does not need any single one of us. If I dropped off the face of this earth, hey, listen, my youth group would still go on. This church would still go on. Nothing different would change. Someone else would step up and someone else would preach and teach. God doesn't need any of us. But when you go away from God, God gets his purpose still done, but you're so far from him. And when you're far from him, that's when the storms come. That's when the angry sailors come. That's when the great fish comes and swallows you up. You guys can be seated. And you got hurt. Maybe mom and dad said, hey, I don't want you going to the playground today. Oh, sure, mom, I'm not going to the playground today. I won't go. 2 hours later, your buddy calls you up, hey, can we go to the playground? Oh, sure. Even though you know mom told you not to go, right? She told you don't go over there. And you go over there and you're having a great time until all of a sudden you fall off one of the jungle gyms and you just smoke your knee. You're going, boy, it hurts, Keith. You're limping home. Man, but when you open that door, don't you straighten up? Tears in your eyes. Mom looks over, you walking kind of funny. Everything okay? Yeah, it's great. Why's there a tear in your eye? It's good. Where have you been the last couple hours? Nowhere. Because you went somewhere you weren't supposed to go, and while you were there, you got hurt. Can I say this, young person? God does not need any single one of us, but he's got a plan for each and every one of us. And if you'll do his plan, it's a great life. But even if he doesn't have you, he'll still get his goal accomplished. But meanwhile, you're far from him. And that's when the pain and hurt comes. So number one, Mordecai says, Esther, if you hold your peace. If you hold your peace, destruction will come. He says, Esther, God will use someone else if you don't step up. Number 3, I wrote this down. You are where you are for a reason. Look at the rest of the verse. Wait, Esther, who knows? Maybe you're there. Thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Maybe you're there for a reason. Whining is easy. It takes no skill to whine. Okay? I can just walk into a room, and if I want to be negative, it's real easy. Like, oh, look at these terrible chandeliers. They're ugly. There's buckets. What an idiot game is that going to be? Look at that stupid stage. I mean, purple and gold. Ew, purple and gold. Look at these t-shirts. They give me an extra large. And I'm probably a 2X. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, listen. Complaining is easy. It's easy. Anybody can do that. And yet we sit there and we whine about our family. We whine about our mom. We whine about our dad. We whine about stepmom, stepdad. You can just go on the list. We whine about our school. We whine about the teachers we have. We whine, and whine. And yet we never ask ourselves, hey, is there a reason God gave me this home? Is there a reason that God gave me this family? Oh, see, man, listen, can I tell you, as a teenager, I struggled. Because I went to church every time Brother Gabe, the church doors were open, I went. But can I say this? My mom didn't always go. And my dad almost never went. Brother Gabe, as a teenager, that hurt me. Because then I'd come home, and by the way, I would do stupid things. I was no exception. I was a stupid teen, just like some of us are. I was dumb. I did dumb things. You know what hurt me, Brother Gabe, was when I would come home, I'd get in trouble. And my mom would get on my case and say, Mom, I'm going to church 3 times a week. I go soul winning, Mom. I go to every teen activity, Mom. And now you're going to get on my case, Mom? You don't even go to church. Oh, man. See that whining starting to come? That complaining? It took me a long time as a young person to realize, you know what I'm here for? I'm here to reach my dad. I'm here to reach my dad. I never forget, I think I was a 10th grade boy. Me and my dad got into an argument. And my dad said, I pay all that money to send you to a Christian school. And you go to church every single week. And this is the kind of attitude you have. And I went to my room and I cried like a little girl. Because you know what? My dad wasn't seeing Christ in my life. And I realized then, you know what? I could have whined about my family, or I could try to change my family. It wasn't a few years later, I was in a Sunday morning service. And it was invitation time, Brother Gabe, and I felt an elbow. Felt an elbow. And it was my dad, and I kind of like, peeked. I was peeked during invitation. I know you do. Okay. Felt that elbow, and I said, what's up? He said, TJ, I need to get baptized. TJ, I've been saved, but I need to get baptized and show this whole church that I want to live for God. He said, will you walk me down the aisle? Yes. Come on down, man. I got to walk my dad down the aisle. I got to take him up to the baptistry and watch as he put on that little baptistry robe. And he got in the water, an adult man. He got baptized that day. Young person, instead of sitting there complaining about the home you've got, why don't you try to change it? Why don't you try to be the best Christian you can be? Be respectful to mom and dad every time you can. Listen, obey, do what you're supposed to do, and change the environment you're in. Mordecai says this. He says, listen, you are where you are for a reason. What is that reason? Lastly, I wrote this down. I'm almost done. 5 minutes. Number 4. Mordecai says this. You are here for such a time as this. You're here for such a time as this. Esther, I don't know why, but Esther, you are in that spot because God has a purpose. Do you think God was surprised that Esther was so beautiful? No, because God made her that way. Do you think God was surprised that Esther was so smart and so wise and had such a... By the way, you can read about her. She had a great spirit. Nothing negative she says. She's always got a good spirit throughout the book of Esther. You think God was surprised? No, he wasn't surprised. He made her that way. He had designed her, created her for this particular moment. For such a time as this. Can I say this, young person? You live in tough times. We call it Generation Z. That's my generation. That's what I'm born into, Brother TJ. Oh, by the way, Generation Z, you know what they really struggle with? Suicide. Suicide. I read one article that said suicide for Generation Z is the third leading cause of death amongst teens. And then I read this next stat. And for every one suicide, get this. For every one suicide, there's 25 others that are attempted. Brother Tina, that's my generation. That's what I grew up in. By the way, it comes from depression. See, what's crazy is this generation, you know the things they don't struggle with the things that generations before used to struggle with. See, for instance, teen sex. Numbers are way down in teen sex. Why? Because you guys are always on your phones. You don't even talk to other people. You just use your cell phone. You just sit on social media. Hey, drugs and alcohol for this generation, they're actually going down quite a bit. Why? Because teens don't hang out. They don't go to parties. They sit on their cell phones. And what happens is, young people in this generation, you feel like you have friends, but it's fake because it's a telephone screen. It's a computer screen. And you say, man, look at all the followers I got, but if you pulled out your cell phone, you wouldn't have one person you could call if something went down. You wouldn't have one friend on your phone you could call and say, hey, I'm in trouble, man, would you help me? You'd have to send them a Facebook message, and 3 days later they did it. And what happens is, young people start getting depressed. But TJ, that's my generation. But TJ, that's what I have to grow up with? That's the teens of my youth group? Hey, listen, the answer is yes. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to fix it? How are you going to help? Maybe it's that God above put you on this earth at this time so that you as a young person, you as a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade boy, 12th grade girl, you name it, that maybe you're here this morning to be the light to a dark world. For such a time as this word says, Esther, maybe it's that God put you here for a reason. Young person, can I say this every single day of my life? And I am not perfect. I am not. But every single day of my life, you know what I think? How can I make this world better? Oh, Brother Tina, you work in a church. Yes, I do. And every day I think, how can I help someone who's struggling around me? What teenager needs help? What adult needs help? Young person, I'm supposed to be a light to this generation, but guess what? So are you. How many say, Brother TJ, I want to make a difference in this generation? Raise your hand, come on. Let me see it. Where's my difference makers? You put your hands down. You're going to be a difference maker, you got to be different. Brother TJ, I want to change my generation. You got to be different, man. You got to be different. Hey, wouldn't it be amazing, teenagers, youth pastors would love this. Hey, wouldn't it be amazing, teen, if instead of him texting you every week hoping you would show up, that he knew you were going to show up, and not only were you going to show up, but you were going to text the other kids in the youth group and make sure they show up? That would make my job so much better. Hey, maybe it would be you, young person, who would stand up in your youth group and say, hey, Brother TJ, I'm a senior, can I preach to the junior hires every once in a while? And I'll help them out as best I can. How can you be a difference maker? If you're going to be a difference maker, you got to be different. See, some of you want to make a difference, but you're no different than the kids in your school. You go to your school, you listen to the same music. And then afterwards you say, I'm a Christian too. Huh? That song we listen to talks about sex, drugs, alcohol, dancing. You name it, it talks about it. And we listen to the same music. Huh? Must not be anything different about you. Nothing different. Man, you go to church on Sundays? You sure cuss more than I do. You know more four-letter words than I do. And there's really not that many. But you know all of them, and then you have some other variations. Christianity. What is that then? See, sometimes we want to make a difference, but we're no different than the people around us. Can I say this? There's nothing greater than a young man or a young girl in your youth group, and you try to live your life to a higher standard. And you say, I'm not going to talk like everyone else talks. I'm not going to listen to the same worldly music that everyone else listens to. I don't care what they listen to. Hey, I don't care if they're at church on Sunday or not. I'm going to be at church Sunday night, Sunday, every single time the door's open. Because young person, listen, if you want to make a difference, you got to be different. You got to be different. And then number two, if you want to make a difference, so simple. You got to try. You got to try. You know, Brother Gabe, I think in youth groups there's sometimes the upper echelon. I've got a big youth group, Brother Fanera. But I find in my big youth group, there's usually maybe 5 to 10 kids out of hundreds. But those 5 to 10, they always show up. They're always there. But not just for themselves. They bring other teenagers with them. They're helping out other teams. They're praying with other teams. They're taking junior hires under their wings. And boy, that's tough. Junior hires are crazy, okay? They're investing in other people. They come to an activity and it's not just about them having fun. They're thinking, youth pastor, how can I help you? How can I make a difference? They hop on a bus route and they don't just sit there on that bus route. They go invite kids themselves and they bring their own kids to church. But I find that number is very small. Young person, you want to make a difference, you got to be different. But you also got to try to be different. And try to make a difference. By the way, you know the story, I'm done. Does Esther get up enough courage to go into that king? You better believe she does. And does God use her to save the nation of Israel? You better believe it. Good old Haman. Can I get your Haman faces? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Haman got hung. It was great. Okay? They cheered. Because Haman was the Hitler before Hitler. He just never got to do it. And God used Esther because in a moment, Esther said, hey, I'll not hold my peace. There's something wrong going on. And if I don't say something, they're going to be destroyed. She realized maybe that I'm here at this time for such a time as this. Maybe it's my job to save my generation. She stood up. She was different, and she made a difference. Young people, can I say this? There's some youth leaders in this room, they're trying. There's some youth pastors, they're trying. But they could sure use some help. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes? Called up Brother Mason. So Brother Mason, we are planning on doing a youth conference every year. And we said, would you be willing to preach at it for the next 5 years? And so we signed him on contract. And so he's been preaching here every single year that we've had our youth conference. And we love having him over here. And so Brother Mason's going to come on up here. Where's Brother Mason at? Oh, there he is. Let's give Brother Mason a big hand. Can you talk about your youth rally real quick? We'll get those out for you.
Well, it's a privilege to be here, but I did want to mention we are having a youth rally in September. This will be, I think, our 4th one. And get back here, guys. Come on. This is for me. And awesome. Awesome. You are worth $100 grand, but it wasn't payday. You are one extra cool pastor. Jokes make us snicker. You bring us mouths of almond joy. You are the Baby Ruth of pastors, and we love you to love your way. We love your Timberline airheads. That's pretty cool. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you guys for that. Very nice. We have a youth rally in the fall, in September. It's just it's a Thursday, Friday night, and 2 messages each night. There's no charge. But we've had some great crowds the last couple of years, and of course we appreciate you coming if you have an opportunity. The speaker joining me this year will be Brother Sammy Roberson, and if you're able to come, we'd love to have you. Got any questions about that, please let us know. And one of the best things about it is it's free, And so you have to thank you, TJ, for helping us with that. And I didn't know I was under contract for 5 years, but I guess that's a nice way of saying next year's my last. But anyway, I'll take it. That's all good. And I'm grateful so much for Grandview and what it has meant to me and our family. And I appreciate the relationship that we have with this great church. And really, Brother Buster was very instrumental in us coming to Oregon. And probably, I say this often, if you would have asked me and my wife to pick a place where we would wind up, Oregon would not have been anywhere near the top of the list. Even though it does have all the trees and the nicer weather. But it's not where we thought we'd be. The Lord brought us here. We're grateful for that and excited for what the Lord is doing. But very, very grateful for the friendship and fellowship we have with Grandview, Brother Musser, Brother TJ, and so many others. Well, I appreciate that message. Boy, that was a great one on forgiveness. Amen. Thank you so much, Brother Bull. Good to see you. I'm honored to get to spend a little bit of time with him. And glad he's able to have his daughter Lydia with him tonight. I'm sure that's a treat as well.
That's competition. Sometimes you have good games, and sometimes you have absolute duds. We're going to probably have duds now after we had such a good game last night. And Brother Bailey, we were talking. Brother Bailey was praying, right? You were praying last night. It's like, yeah. And it was good. How many got a bruise from last night? We got a bruise? Okay, don't tell me about it. And now this competition today, I need every single person's help. Okay? Now, here's what we're going to do. I've got 2 teams today. This section right here and this section right here, you are one team. You guys are together. Okay? Then, I've got this section right here and this section right here. You guys are together. One team over here. Okay? Now, if you notice, we've got buckets hanging from the ceiling. Okay? Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get a minute on the clock up there. Can I do that on the camera? Can we get a minute on the clock on Colby? We'll get a minute on the clock. I have got, I don't know, I've got hundreds of ping pong balls. And when I say go, we're going to have 1 minute to throw as many ping pong balls as you can into the buckets on your side. You do not have to stay in your seat. You can come up to the front, but when I say go, you need to start throwing them like crazy and trying to get them in the bucket. Now, I've got full-size Milky Way candy bars for the winning team. For every person. Now, do not start yet. We're getting those out. There you go.
You got it?
Now, get those out. Get those out. Okay. was so focused on watching that I forgot to watch. All right. Got both of their money balls in. Any money balls over here? 0. This team over here had 41 ping pong. This team over here, with their 2 money balls, had 47 over here. We are going to do our final round. This is for Milky Ways. 30 seconds. Out of mark. Get back. Go!
Under us. Yeah. This one through.
Hey, roll back there. Come on. Get him out of the way.
Took under the pews.
Okay. We have our totals coming in.
I don't see it.
Over here, this team. You guys have done really bad with the money balls. First round, 0. Second round, 0. This round, 2. You get that? And your total was, with the 2 money balls, 39 points. 39. I got this team that looked like they had a whole bucket full. I don't know. Okay. This team had 1 money ball over here. This team had 39 Milky Ways on the line. 39 to 49. Let's start passing those out. And Mike, if you can grab this whole side over here. Now, do me a favor. Don't be sitting there eating a Milky Way while we're getting crazy, okay? Don't do that. This is for later. I know some of you are all thinking about doing it. Okay? At this time, Renere's going to come up and don't throw their ping pong. Say, all right, here we go, Renere.
Oh, I think. I was like, is there people coming?
Slow pokes.
Run! I'll direct. No,
Pick one that Brother Vestal's not in.
I was gonna be one of the first people.
What if you don't know who that is? You shouldn't be holding the door. Let me hold the door. Go, you go.
I'm sitting and I'm pink
One
ball,
man. Come on, man.
The church is gonna need them.
You really want them that bad.
Is there such thing as a cheap?
Yeah, that is cheap.
Elder squishy.
The second I stepped on one, it was collapsed. I touched it with my pinky toe and it collapsed.
Wow, I'm eating Sean. Spare food. For all the kids.
She's dead starved and stuff. Christian people, man. It's been a long game. I feel bad for leaving Jessica.
I mean, it's going back fast.
Wow.
They're all the same. Go on either side of the middle table, grab one and go. It's all the same. Walk this way from Debbie's side. Walk it down this side.
Dad, they actually have it.
Ketchup and mustard on the side tables, water behind me. Down and candy right
They're running out of hands.
Why?
Because I already had it out. And I was like, oh, I have, and I didn't have time to put it in my bag. So I'm just like, okay, I'll just set it on the most less greasiest part of my food. I have like an entire like videoing this? Yeah, it's gonna be like entire like 4 minutes, just like with the ceiling. So like,
I'm gonna go get my lunch. No, she's going. She's already in the van.
Oh. Well, I thought we were taking a bus.
I don't know.
I thought we just said we were taking a bus.
I know, I thought so too. Man, if I didn't know that, I would have left my backpack in the stupid van.
Yeah, but at least not with the
I didn't haul it around.
Well, I gotta do it. Wow. It just ties the whole thing together.
Waivers? Oh. Oh. I was just like, oh yes. Dodge. Dodge. Who are you looking for?
Oh, there they are.
There. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be fun.
Oh, you can get in your fish. Oh no! No!
Someone dropped their corn dog.
Their hot dog.